Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Manitoba Parks webinar. My name is Adam, and I'm a park interpreter in Whiteshell Provincial Park, located on Treaty 3 territory, also home of the Red River Métis, whose peoples are deeply connected with all the lands that's around us. Now, just a couple of things I want to cover before we get started tonight. For starters, this presentation is being recorded and will be uploaded to our Manitoba Parks YouTube channel shortly afterwards. All participants are in listen-only mode with their videos disabled as well as being muted. If anyone has any comments throughout the webinar, please enter them into the chat box. And if anyone has any questions, please type them into the Q&R on the Zoom window, and we'll do our best we'll try as hard as we can to be able to answer as many questions as we can towards the end of the presentation. Now, tonight's program is all about learning how to cross-country ski. Now, rightly so, cross-country skiing is probably one of the most popular things to do throughout the winter. For very good reason. It's a great way to get outside and get some exercise in the winter. However, if done improperly, it can lead to some bad experiences and potentially even injury. So by learning more about the proper techniques, as well as knowing how to be properly prepared, we can lessen the risk of injury and get down to just enjoying being outside. Now, the first thing I'd actually like all of us to do is give me a little bit of information. What I need from you is everyone at home, I'd like to know how much cross-country skiing experience you have. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to launch a quick poll here. And we'll leave it up for just a few seconds. And I just want to know what your experience level is, whether it's none, a little bit, moderate, or lots. Chances are most of us are probably going to end up probably where I am, in the little bit to moderate category. Give it a few more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, looks like the overwhelming majority is a little bit. That's kind of what I expected. That's where I definitely fall under too. And that's also what makes tonight very, very perfect. This is going to be great for a lot of us that are watching right now. Myself personally, with cross-country skiing, I mean, I skied a little bit as a kid and even into my teenage days as well, but kind of fell out of it, as well as literally, once I got to adulthood. However, my love for cross-country skiing was rekindled a little while ago when I learned a very important piece of information. Cross-country skiing can burn up to 1,000 calories an hour. 1,000 calories an hour. Now, if anyone's had the displeasure of seeing how much I can eat at once, that is very, very important information. So now that I know a little bit about your experience level, I also would like to know where people like to ski or have skied quite a bit in the past. So give me 1 second. I'm going to shoot up one more poll here. And just take a couple of seconds to look at those options and let's see where most of us have skied before, or we just like skiing in general. Leave it up for just a little bit here, a few more seconds. All right, we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, our results are just over half in the Winnipeg metro area, not too big of a shock there, but a good showing in eastern Manitoba and western Manitoba, and even a few up in northern Manitoba. Now that's all great because truthfully, there are wonderful ski trails all over our province, and exploring new trails and even new areas is another great way to pass our cold winter months. But like I said, if done so improperly, it can really cause a lot of bad experiences. Now tonight, we have a way to curb that. We have a guest presenter with us, Ken Shikalski. Ken Shikalski is a certified ski instructor from the Canadian Association of Nordic ski instructors. He's done a number of cross-country ski clinics with us in the past, as well as a webinar last year. Now tonight, he's going to talk a little bit about some things to keep in mind as we start skiing. So things like different types of equipment, what clothing we may need, as well as waxing techniques. He'll also give a bit of an introduction as to what to expect from our in-person ski clinics that we're going to be running in parks throughout the rest of the month, which we'll talk about towards the end. But with that, I'd like you all to give me a hand, I guess a virtual hand, in welcoming Ken Ciechalski. Ken, the screen is yours.
Great, thank you very much, Adam. And welcome to everybody to our webinar this evening. I'm very pleased to be able to spend some time with you talking about my favorite topic, cross-country skiing, and sharing some information about how to prepare for the ski season and our upcoming ski clinics. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint presentation over the next 25 minutes or so here. And we'll talk about, cover topics about the best way to dress for cross-country skiing, selecting your equipment for cross-country skiing, how to wax skis properly, and lastly, just cover a few details on what to expect in the upcoming ski clinics in the parks. And then we'll finish up with some time for questions towards the end of the session. So let's get started. I'm going to preface my comments about clothing by saying, if you're new to skiing, don't feel that you have to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe just for cross-country skiing. You'll undoubtedly have some clothing that will work well for skiing. And the important thing in selecting your clothing for skiing is to select clothes that allows you to dress in layers to stay warm and dry. You got clothes that will provide you some freedom of movement. When you're selecting your clothing, you want to start off with a base layer, usually a synthetic or light wool layer that will wick moisture away from your body, not a cotton layer that will get wet and stay wet. And then you can follow that with a mid layer, usually a thin fleece or perhaps a couple of thin fleeces. And then finally a shell layer, windproof, snow resistant, yet breathable shell that will keep you dry. And for the bottom, you'll probably just go with a base layer and the shell layer, depending whether you're a person who runs a little bit hot or a little bit cold. Now I'm showing here just one insulating layer, one mid layer, but given the weather we've been having lately, you'll probably want several layers that you'll be able to either take off if you get too hot or unzip to cool off. In fact, my girlfriend the other day teaching a ski lesson in some very cold weather was wearing 7 layers in total just to stay warm. So having all those layers gives you the ability to stay warm, stay dry, and yet get out and enjoy your skiing. I want to mention too the importance of some little extras in your wardrobe. Having a toque that's appropriate for the weather, heavier toque in cold weather, and just a lighter one as it gets warmer. Mitts that will allow you some dexterity to hold your ski pole and will fit into the straps on the ski pole. I like to use a combination, a layer of a thin outer layer, nylon outer layer, plus a fleece or wool liner inside, so I can adjust the number of layers I'm wearing on my hands. And there are layers that will dry quickly too. I really like to emphasize the importance of other small items in your wardrobe, like earmuffs, and my favorite, a neck warmer that can really make a big difference in staying warm. And yet they're small items that if you get too warm, you can just take them off and stick them in your pocket and put them back on later if you need to. So important things about clothing then, dressing in layers and having these little extras that will help you to stay warm should the temperature change. Now let's take a look at equipment. And as I'm talking about equipment here, I'm talking about equipment for classic skiing. For skate skiing, there's an entirely different set of equipment, and we'll just focus on classic today. Your ski boots are the most important part of your skiing equipment. You have to have boots that are a comfortable fit for you, not so loose that they will rub and give you blisters, nor too tight such that they might end up giving you cold feet. If you're using an orthotic, be sure that your orthotic will fit into your ski boot and use your orthotic in the ski boot. It's very, very important. If you're new to skiing and shopping for equipment, a good suggestion is to look for boots first. Start off by selecting your boots. Find some boots that are really nice and comfortable, and then you can choose the bindings that go with those boots, and then the skis and the poles. Not all bindings fit all boots. The equipment is no longer interchangeable as it had been in previous years, but you can switch bindings from one ski to the other. So if you in fact are, say, purchasing new boots, but you want to keep your old bindings, your old skis rather, you may have to switch to new bindings and have them put onto your old skis. So boots are very, very important, and make sure that you get a comfortable fit. Poles are also very important. They're not for balance when you're skiing, they're actually for propulsion. So you have to make sure that you get poles that are going to work well for you. Poles should be a length that comes up to about the middle of your shoulder or the top of your shoulder, which typically is about 83% of your height. Poles will come with, nowadays, quite a variety of straps. You can get a simple loop strap, still the most common, which works really well, especially with wearing mitts. Some poles come with what is sometimes called a power strap system, where you have your thumb coming up through one hole, fingers through the other, and then a Velcro strap that wraps around the back. Allows you to apply more power through your pole, but they also are a little bit more of a hassle to take on and off. Whichever strap you choose to go with, make sure that it fits with the gloves or the mitts that you're going to typically wear when you're skiing, and make sure that you know how to attach the more complicated straps. If you're shopping for straps, just find one, or poles with straps, just find one that you find is comfortable and easy to use for you. Now the skis. It's really, really important to find skis, to have skis that are the right length and stiffness for your body weight. Skis have a camber to them, this curve from the tip to the tail of the ski, and having the ski the right stiffness for your body weight will mean that you can press the ski down to the snow so it grips the snow and allows you to push yourself forward. If the ski is too stiff, you won't be able to push it down, and you won't be able to grip the snow. You'll end up slipping a lot. If the ski is too soft, it will end up dragging all the time and slowing you down much more than you need to. If you're purchasing skis at a reputable ski shop, they should measure the ski and measure the stiffness of the ski with a gauge equipment, and make sure that matches your body weight, or they can reference the data on the ski. There is a code on each ski as to the stiffness of the ski, and they can decipher the numbers on that code for you and make sure that they give you a ski that is the right stiffness for your body weight. Barring that, a rule of thumb for sizing your ski is to have it come up to your wrist when your arm is up above your head like this. And generally, that will be the right size for you. So simple little tips on choosing skis that are going to work best for you. There are different types of skis on the markets these days. The most recent addition to the market is the skin ski. These skis have a strip of mohair in the center of the ski, kind of underfoot, and this allows you to grip the snow. This is what is quite common on rental skis these days. They don't require any grip wax, but it is important that these skis be suited to your body weight, because the amount of grip that you have is not adjustable as it is with a waxable ski, where you could change the wax or extend the waxed area on the ski. The skin skis work well in pretty much all conditions, but particularly in warmer weather and changeable conditions. The skins do wear out in time, that being over the course of probably several years, but they can be replaced, and it's not a particularly expensive endeavor to replace those at a ski shop. On the other side, we have a waxless ski, and these have been around for a long time. They typically have a pattern of fine fish tooth type, fish scale type indentations in the bottom of the ski, again, just underfoot. And like the skin ski, it's important to ensure that if you have skis like this, that they're the correct stiffness for your body weight, because the amount of grip is not adjustable. These two work well in most conditions, but particularly warmer weather, sometimes in wet snow conditions. They're popular in coastal areas where the snow tends to be much wetter than it does here in Manitoba. The traditional ski is the waxable ski. And here you can see in the center part of the ski, there's this white layer, which is the grip wax applied to my ski. These skis, like the others, should be specific to your body weight, but they are a little bit more forgiving in that you can change the amount of area on the bottom that is waxed. And we'll talk about that more in just a moment. Waxable skis work well in virtually all conditions if they are waxed properly. Waxing is really very, very easy to do. Can be just a little bit tricky as you get temperatures right around freezing though. So those are the three types of skis that are commonly found on the market these days. All three types of skis require glide wax. And the glide wax is applied only to the back of the ski and the front of the ski. It's not applied to the center of the ski underfoot here. Glide wax is usually melted onto the ski and then ironed to spread and create a smooth base, and then is scraped to a nice polished surface. It's not a particularly difficult or complex task. It can get a little bit messy once you start scraping the wax, but it is fairly easy to do. Racers will change the glide wax very frequently, probably with every race they do, because the glide waxes are temperature specific. But for the recreational skier, you can probably get away quite easily with having your skis glide waxed once a year. And ski shops will do this at a pretty modest price. And it's a good idea to actually get your skis waxed at the end of the season so they're ready to go for next year. If your skis, especially skis with a black base, such as these, start to show white or grayish spots, usually right at the tip here, right at the back over there, that usually is an indication that you need to get a new glide wax applied to your ski. And again, the easiest way is to take it into a ski shop, and they'll do it pretty quickly. It's a short procedure, and you'll be on your way skiing and gliding very nicely again. The other wax that is applied to the traditional waxable ski is the grip wax. And the grip wax is applied to what we call the wax pocket. So it's this area just underfoot on the ski, as you can see with the wax applied to it here. The wax pocket technically extends from about your heel or the back of the binding to the toe or pin of the binding, and then that same distance forward. And you can see here on this ski, that area is off the snow, and that's because of the camber of the ski. When the skier puts all their weight onto the ski will flatten out, the grip wax will adhere to the snow, and the skier can push themselves forward. And then as they take their weight off the ski, they glide on the tip and the tail of the ski. And this is the magic of just how a ski works and why it works so well. It's that camber that allows you to get grip and yet to glide very nicely. There's a whole array of grip waxes. My approach to using grip waxes is to keep it simple. Grip waxes are identified by the temperatures that they are used in. So we can see here with this green wax, for instance, it's for a temperature range of -4 to -10. Another wax here is -10 to -30. And you simply choose the wax that matches the temperature of the day. Technically, it's the snow temperature, but here in Manitoba, that's almost always the air temperature as well. And I'll just explain in a moment how the wax is applied. So you choose the wax for the day. And again, in Manitoba, most people will be able to get away with probably about 4 or 5 waxes. So here I've got one that's about 0, another one that is for maybe about -3 to -8. Here's -4 to 10. And then this one is for anything colder. So if you have 4 or 5 waxes in your wax kit, that's probably going to be enough to keep you going for a long, long time. And these waxes last a long time. I've been skiing for about 45 years, and I think I've maybe used up 1 or 2 tubes like this in that time. They last a long time. You don't use very much each time you wax your skis. When you're waxing your skis, it's important to remember one little rule, and that is that you can apply a wax for a warmer temperature over top a wax for a colder temperature, but you shouldn't apply it the other way. If it's applied the other way, the wax will wear off quite quickly. It will sort of peel off. So if you're out skiing and let's say you put on this green wax and then it warms up through the day, you can just apply this blue wax right over top. If it happens to cool off during the day, you may actually want to scrape off the green wax before you put on this white wax, just to make sure that the wax adheres a little bit better to your skis. Now, how do we apply these waxes to our skis? Very simple again. No need to make this waxing a complex process. You just take the wax that is appropriate for the temperature of the day. You determine where your wax pocket is on the ski. You rub the wax onto the ski the same way you would if you were coloring. Take the cork that comes in your waxing kit, rub the wax a little bit. I usually do it maybe 2, 3, 4 times just to polish it up a little bit. Head out skiing, have fun. And then when you're done for the day, you take the scraper that comes in your wax kit, and by just pressing hard on your ski and dragging the scraper across the waxed area, you can remove any residual wax. This helps to keep your skis clean, because the wax will pick up dirt as you're skiing along, and it avoids that awkward situation of going out a week later and you don't remember what wax you had on your ski, so you have to remove it anyway. So you may as well just remove it when you finish skiing. It's always a good idea to take with you when you're skiing the wax of the day and the next warmer wax, because there's nothing more frustrating than getting out onto the trail, having the temperature go up, and suddenly you don't have any grip and you're slipping and sliding trying to get home. If you got the wax for the day plus the next warmer wax, you can apply another layer of the same wax or go to the warmer wax, and you'll have grip and manage to get back without any difficulty at all. So now we've got you dressed for skiing. You've got your equipment sorted out. and you've got your skis waxed up and ready to go. Now, what about you as the skier? What are the preparations that you need to make for the ski season? Well, here's one. One is to become familiar with the cross-country responsibility code, just to make sure that you and other skiers will have a safe and enjoyable experience when you're out. So always check the posted trail conditions. Check to see what the conditions are on the trail that you're going to be going out to. Manitoba Parks and the Cross Country Ski Association of Manitoba both have excellent websites that give you the trail conditions for many, many trails in Manitoba. When you're on a trail, especially one that is a one-way trail, make sure you ski in the directions that are indicated, because that's going to give you the safest ski in terms of going up and down hills, and probably the optimal ski in terms of enjoying your ski. Always ski to the right when you're meeting oncoming skiers on two-way trails. And if you have somebody who is wanting to pass you, step to the right and let them pass on the left. They may call track as an indication that they want to pass you. On two-way trails, if you encounter hills, the skier coming downhill has the right of way over the skier going uphill. So always make sure to check before you start to climb a hill if there's somebody about to come down. If you have to stop along a trail, be sure to step off to the side of the trail to let other skiers go by. And if you have to take your skis off to re-wax, or if you choose to, for instance, walk up or down a hill, be sure to step well off the side of the track so you don't damage the tracks that are needed for other skiers. And then, of course, don't litter. Everybody's out to enjoy the outdoors, and report any incidents or accidents, and certainly offer help to anybody that's having difficulty out along the trails. And number 9, the most important one, have fun. The other way that you can prepare yourself as the skier for the ski season is to take a ski lesson. Skiing efficiently is going to make your skiing experience much more enjoyable through the winter. And that's what these ski clinics coming up in provincial parks are going to be all about. In these clinics, we're going to talk about diagonal stride, which is a technique we use on flat ground and for going up even fairly steep hills. We're going to touch on double poling, technique we use when weather conditions are quite warm and we've got good glide. And we'll look at snowplow, coming down a hill in a way that helps you to control your speed. Each of these techniques will give you sort of the key points, will help you go through a number of exercises so you can improve your skiing. And we're going to offer you some one-on-one feedback so you can improve your skiing in the way that you need it most, and that will give you the greatest benefit. If you're new to skiing, these clinics will be a great way to get you started. If you've been skiing for quite a while, we'll be able to help you out and give you a few little tips that will make you ski even better. Clinics will be about an hour and a half long, and there'll be lots of fun. Preparing for these clinics or for other lessons, if you're taking a lesson in some other location, it's always a good idea to think about the aspects of your own skiing that you need some help with, or that are always a challenge to you. And that might be a situation on one of your favorite trails, a corner or a hill that always gives you a bit of a challenge. Your ski instructor might actually know that particular area and say, well, this is how you can maneuver through there more easily. Ski instructors love to get questions like that, because then they can tailor the lesson and make it most beneficial for you. And with that, the notion that you need to, or you can prepare some questions for your instructor, I'm going to end my portion of the presentation and turn this back to Adam, and we can get into some questions for this evening.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Ken, very much. That was a wonderful introduction to cross-country skiing, and very important these days, because as we mentioned at the beginning, cross-country skiing is, rightly so, one of the most popular things that people are doing in the winter. And it's very important to know the proper procedures because skiing can provide lots of great memories, but if done improperly, then it can lead to bad experiences and in some cases, unfortunately, injuries. But if we learn the proper techniques and are properly prepared, then we can lessen the risk of injury and just focus on enjoying the day. Now, there's all kinds of things that we can do when we're out skiing or just even out and about to enhance the experience that we skiers and other skiers are going to have. One of the most important things, first off, I mean, everything that Ken just mentioned, especially in the last couple of minutes, but one of the really important ones, especially towards planning your trip, was checking the trail conditions for where you're going. This is very, very important. During the winter season, trail conditions for winter trails in Manitoba parks are published every Thursday morning, and then ski trails are also updated consistently throughout the week. We have a new interactive map that can be found on the Trails and Advisories page of manitobaparks.com. And there's an interactive map that shows you all the different skiing as well as walking and snowshoe trails, as well as when they were last groomed and what their conditions are. So that's a great place to look before you even head out to that area. Another good thing to keep in mind is making sure we realize that pets like dogs are not permitted on cross-country ski trails unless they're otherwise specified. And if there's any of us watching that maybe aren't skiers, or maybe we don't feel like skiing one day and just want to go out and snowshoe or hike, it's very important that we not walk or hike on ski trails. Foot traffic can cause a lot of damage and in many cases even completely destroy ski trails to the point where they're beyond repair unless we get enough snow throughout the season to completely redo that trail. Again, if you're interested in snowshoeing or hiking in winter, check out that interactive map. It'll show you all those different trails that you can do that on. Now, with that, we will get into some questions here. Double check and see. I don't see any questions in the Q&A right now. I'll give you a few minutes to, if anybody can think of any, and there's one right there popping up. As I'm reading it, there was one that came up a little earlier actually in the chat box. Somebody was asking about any places where they could buy new or used equipment.
I always recommend people shop for ski equipment at a reputable ski shop, or in Winnipeg, those are the bike shops as well. And the reason that I recommend those places is that it's really important to get the skis that are sized correctly for you. And the staff in these ski shops have the equipment and the knowledge to be able to get you set up properly with the best equipment. With the pandemic, getting equipment is a bit of a challenge. A lot of the ski shops, at least last winter, were sold out very early in the season, and I think they're having the same challenges this year. So it can be a little bit of a challenge to get equipment. But there's about half a dozen good ski shops in the city here, and others in other communities around Manitoba. And I recommend just checking those out to get your equipment.
Okay, another question that came in. If we want to join a ski clinic, do we need to have equipment already, or is there an option to rent? So I can forward this one just for the clinics that we'll talk about in a minute taking place in Manitoba parks. Ski rentals are not available in the parks, and participants do have to bring their own equipment. And
I would just add to that, Adam, that some of the ski shops do rent skis. So if a person needs rentals, they can get rentals at some of the ski shops and bring them to the clinics.
For sure, yeah, where ski shops are available, yes, but I can personally attest there's no ski shops in Rennie,
Right.
which is where I am. That's okay. So had another question here. Well, this is a good one. How old should kids be to start cross-country skiing?
That's a great question. Skiing has really developed over a long time. Some people may have heard of Jack Rabbit Johansson, who was kind of the granddaddy of skiing in Canada, a fellow that lived to, I think, about 104 in Quebec and skied at about age 102 or something like that. And through his efforts and the efforts of actually a lot of skiers in Manitoba, a program called the Jackrabbits was established. And this is a program for children to learn how to ski. And it starts, I believe, at about age 8, I think. And in some areas, they have a bunny rabbit program that might start as early as about age 3 or age 5. And it's a great program, a fabulous program, where kids get together in a group setting with leaders and the parents, and they play lots of games, have lots of fun, and just learn the basics of skiing. They work up through different progressions, earning badges, and then they can move on to different programs as they kind of age out of Jackrabbits at about age 13 or age 15. So they can then go into recreational skiing or racing programs or whatever the case might be. There are many Jackrabbit programs in Manitoba, and if you go to the Cross Country Ski Association website, ccsam.ca, I think it is, and there's a page on that website about find a club, and it will list out the clubs that have Jackrabbit programs. Best way to get your kid into skiing.
Very cool. We have another one here that I can also answer, but I do want to hear Ken's answer as well. The question is, can you walk beside a ski trail? So this varies from where you are. There are a few trails, actually quite a number of trails in the park or in the province, excuse me, where we have trails set aside where one side is groomed for cross-country skiing and the other side is groomed for walking. Just because I'm in the Whiteshell, the Pine Point Rapids, a portion of that trail is groomed in that way, where part of it is for skiing and part of it is for walking. The best thing to do would be stick to whatever activity is designated for that trail. If it's a designated ski trail, just ski on it. If it's also designated for walking, then make sure you stay on the walking portion.
And I would add to that, Adam, that people are usually accustomed to seeing ski trails as the traditional trail with two grooves cut for the skis for traditional skiing. Many ski trail systems have a skate trail as well, which is just a flat packed area for skate skiing. And we encourage people not to walk on the skate trail as well, because it will tend to damage the skate trail for those skiers. So ski trails may have two different components to them, a classic section and a skate section.
Yeah, best thing would just always be mindful of what kind of trail you are on. Another good question here. Where would you recommend to buy wax for our current weather, i.e. minus 15 to minus 30 degrees?
Most of the ski shops will sell wax as well. So you can go into any ski shop, Mountain Equipment Co-op, any of those areas, and you can buy the grip waxes as individual waxes like this. They're not particularly expensive. I haven't purchased one for a long time, but I'm thinking maybe about $7 to $10 for kind of a normal type of wax. And as I mentioned earlier, they will last a long, long time. In terms of a wax for the current condition, I'm hoping the current condition will be more like it will be tomorrow at -2 rather than today with -30. Wax for that -15 to -30 is typically something that would be called a special green wax. And you'll have the temperature marked right on the tube, -10 to 15, or a polar wax of -15 to -30.
Okay, we got a few coming up here about socks. Very, very good questions for the weather we've had today, especially. So the first one, what do you recommend for socks, i.e. type And do you wear more than one pair?
Socks, I think, is a little bit of a personal preference. I wear two pair all the time, probably a little bit more for fit and abrasion resistance in my boots, so I don't get any rubbing. Um, there are synthetic socks on the market as well, or light wool socks that will help to keep your feet a little bit drier. Other skiers certainly will wear just one pair of socks and that will be fine. Ski boots themselves will have differing levels of insulation, so you may have to kind of test your boots in different weather situations to see whether you need one sock or two socks. Um, but I think the important thing is to make sure that whatever combination or style of socks that you're wearing, make sure that you've got a really comfortable fit and don't let your foot end up being too tight in your ski boot. You'll probably end up with cold feet.
Yeah, I think this next question kind of relays off that a little bit. How do you keep your ankles warm while you ski, especially in our current weather?
That is a good question. I've never had cold ankles when I'm out skiing. Most ski boots these days are come just to above the ankles, so you'll probably get some protection from the boot in terms of ankle warmth. And also, I tend to wear a longer kind of a straight leg pant that goes down over top the boot. So it helps to keep snow out of the boot and I suppose provides a little bit of an extra layer of warmth. If you happen to have an older boot that is cut below the ankle, you could wear gaiters around your feet that will help to keep the snow out and provide a little bit of a layer of warmth as well.
So this is another interesting one. What are the ideal conditions for skiing in terms of temperatures and snowfall?
Well, ideal conditions. That's a great one. I was thinking about kind of the variety of conditions I've skied in over the years, and I've been out in temperatures. I think the coldest was -35, and I still had a great ski. And I know I've been out skiing at +17, and it was a fabulous ski. It's great to be able to get out and ski and need to wear only a t-shirt. So if you've got the equipment equipment like a skin ski will cover that whole range from -35 to +17, and you can quite easily wax your skis for -35 to +17. They're waxes that cover that whole range of temperatures. So ideal conditions for me is basically any day I can get out and ski. And the more snow, the better.
I was gonna say, if it's +17, how is there any snow left?
There was actually a lot of snow, and it was at Turtle Mountain many years ago.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful skiing.
All right, our next one is, how can you tell if your kick wax needs to be redone?
If your wax is working correctly when you start to ski, you'll eventually sort of feel that you're not getting quite as much grip on the snow as the wax wears off. And some days that might occur quite quickly, actually, if the trail happens to be a little bit icy. The ice crystals on the trail can wear the wax off quite quickly. If you're just starting and you're sort of testing to see if you've got the right wax for the day, a little trick that I like to do is to get onto the trail, put my ski on the track, put all of my weight on the ski so it flattens right down, and then with all of my weight on that ski, I just see if I can sort of rock the ski back and forth a little bit, and it should grip with all of my weight on the snow on that ski. And if the ski doesn't move, then I know I've got the right wax for the day. If it slips out a little bit, then I probably have a wax that's a little bit too cold, and I'll put a little bit warmer wax on. Or perhaps even just another layer of the same wax and not cork it in quite as much.
Okay, we'll keep it going with another wax question here.
Yeah.
How often would you recommend re-waxing when on a trail that is 6 kilometers?
A 6 kilometer ski, you probably won't have to re-wax at all. Waxing your skis, like I will typically go out and do 15 or 20 kilometers at one time, and the wax works perfectly well that whole distance. I know racers will go out and they'll ski, 50 kilometers, and they'll probably their wax will probably work the whole time. They may apply their wax in layers, so put on one layer of wax, cork it down a little bit, put it on another layer, because the wax will wear off in layers. And over a 50-kilometer race, for instance, they may wear off 1 or 2 layers. So they may do that just to give themselves a little bit of an advantage. But certainly over a 6 kilometer trail or 10 or 15 or 20 kilometers, you probably won't need to re-wax at all. But do carry a wax with you just in case.
All right, so this question kind of has something to do with a couple of questions ago. What is the worst weather condition to go skiing in?
Oh, well, that is a good one. Contrary to what I said, any day that you can get out skiing is a good day. The worst conditions would be the days that I have to jump on my bike and go for a ride. Some of the worst conditions might be situations where you're getting a lot of variable temperatures, perhaps freezing rain, things like that. But even those situations, if you're properly equipped and know how to wax your skis or have equipment that can handle that type of situation, you can still have quite an enjoyable ski. I recall a couple of years ago doing one lesson, and it was raining. And I asked my students if they wanted to go and ski in the rain. They did. So we went out and we had a pretty darn good lesson in the rain. So, there's kind of an adage that there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just bad equipment. So you can get out and enjoy a lot of different weather conditions on cross-country skis.
Yeah, we've definitely got some of the most unique weather in this province, I'll say that.
Yes.
So next question here, this is a good one. If your weight changes by 5 to 10 pounds over the year, do you need new skis for the next season?
I believe that the weight range on most skis is about 25 pounds. So, a 5 to 10 pound change is probably not going to mean that you need new skis, unless you're right at the limit of your ski's weight range to begin with. When you think about this in the context of whether you would go skiing with a little bit of a backpack. So if you're taking your lunch and a bottle of water and maybe an extra bit of clothing, you might have 10 pounds on your back, and you'll probably ski perfectly well as if you were skiing without a pack. So your skis are accommodating a 10-pound range right there. So I wouldn't worry about that kind of weight change.
Okay, this next one here is kind of interesting. I have a pair of wax skis. I recently got them waxed at a ski store and was up at Riding Mountain, and they were so slippery I couldn't get my grip. What do you suggest? More kick wax?
All right, this is kind of an interesting question, and it's one that ski instructors often get at the beginning of lessons. So It can be a little bit of a difficult one to answer because even if the ski instructor were to try out your skis, they may not be able to determine why that ski is slipping because they might be a different weight, for instance. So you could try, or first off, check to make sure that you've got the appropriate wax for the day and that wax pocket is waxed completely. So from your heel to the toe and then that same distance forward, make sure that you've got that full wax pocket waxed. And if you find that they are still slipping, then it might actually be a matter of technique. And a ski lesson or coming to one of our ski clinics might give you the clues as to whether it's an equipment problem or a little bit of a challenge that one needs to address in their skiing technique.
All right, this next one just wanted some clarification. You mentioned waxless skis still need glide wax. Just wanting to clarify that waxless skis still do need glide wax.
That is correct, yeah. So all types of waxless skis, whether they're the skin skis or the fish scale types, still need wax on the tip and tail of the ski. And it'd be the same glide wax that is applied to a regular waxable ski. And especially with the skis with the black base, if you start getting that a little bit of a gray pattern showing up, then that's an indication that they need glide wax. For most recreational skiers, again, the glide waxing once a year will be plenty. My skis, I'm on skis 4 or 5 days a week, much of the winter, and I probably need my skis glide waxed maybe twice through the course of the winter.
Okay, for next up here, are there many ski clubs in Manitoba, specifically in Winnipeg?
There are actually a surprising number of ski clubs in Winnipeg, in Manitoba. There's probably about 6 or 8 in Winnipeg, and then there are ski clubs in every region of the province. Many of the clubs outside of Winnipeg exist in part to operate ski trails. So the group of active skiers have got together. They've secured access to some land, and they have developed and operate and maintain the ski trails in those areas. In Winnipeg, many of the ski clubs operate out of the Windsor Park Nordic Center, and they might be jackrabbit clubs focusing on introducing kids to skiing, or they may be a little bit more of a racing club or just a recreational skiing club. One of the biggest clubs in Manitoba is just a recreational club called the Charleston Ski Club, and other clubs have a full range of opportunities: jackrabbits, racing teams, recreational programs, lessons for their members, and some of them operate facilities as well with ski chalets and the whole gamut. So there's probably, I'm guessing, maybe about 20 or 30 clubs in Manitoba.
I imagine those are definitely some things that have taken off in the last couple of years.
Yeah, all the clubs I think have shown a big increase in membership. And if people are interested in those clubs, again, you can go to the CCSAM website, ccsam.ca, I think it is. And there's a page there that lists out all the clubs and the programs that they have to offer and the contacts, so you can get hold of those clubs and join a club. And it's always a good idea to join a ski club. It's a great way to support skiing in Manitoba. Operating a trail system for those clubs that do that can be a fairly expensive operation. Some of the equipment is fairly expensive. There's fuel to needed to run the groomers, and there's a lot of volunteer effort in preparing the trails and maintaining the trails through the winter. So I always encourage people to join a ski club and support the sport.
Absolutely. Okay, this next one's a very good one. Are ski boot size the same as a person's normal everyday boot size?
I think the ski boots are sized on the metric or European measurement rather than the North American system. But any reputable ski shop will be able to make that comparison for you. So, if you're going in and trying out a pair of boots, you have a size 7 foot, just tell them I got size 7, and they'll go and pick up the right size boot for you. And that might happen to be, 18 in some other sizing format.
Yeah, I know one of the things I had heard when I was taking ski shopping and ski boot shopping the first time was always go either a half size or a full size up from what your normal size is, so you can accommodate 1 or 2 more layers of socks, which I found interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I had mentioned earlier, if you're shopping for boots, make sure that you take your orthotics. If you wear orthotics, make sure they fit into the boot properly. And also try the boot on with the number and types of socks that you expect that you will wear when you're skiing. Make sure the boot is a comfortable fit, and take the time to shop around and get a really comfortable boot. That's going to make a world of difference to your skiing.
All right, it looks like we just got a couple more here. This next one is, what are all the different kinds of wax?
Well, there's sort of two primary groups of waxes: the glide waxes and the grip waxes. Both are temperature rated, and the glide waxes, again, for most people, you don't really need to worry about that. It's easiest to just get a ski shop to apply the glide wax to your skis, and they'll probably apply something that will be, basically a universal type of wax. Racers will get into much more specific glide waxes. The grip waxes, most of them are what we would consider a hard wax, one that comes in a little bit of a tube like this, and you rub onto the ski. They come in a wide range of temperatures, and the coldest would be typically about a minus 15 to minus 30 wax, and it's actually quite a hard wax. And at the other end of the range, you can get what is still considered a hard wax, but is a very soft wax. Sticks onto my finger. And this one happens to be for 0 to plus 10, and is still considered a hard wax that you would still just rub onto the ski and get out and enjoy some plus 10 skiing. There's another type of wax that is a grip wax, and that's called a clister wax. It's got this notorious reputation of being really messy to deal with. It comes in a tube like toothpaste, and it's spread onto the ski as a kind of a thin bead and then smoothened out. Clister waxes are typically for temperatures above 0 or for very icy conditions. And they are quite messy to deal with. You need a solvent to take it off the ski if there's any left on your ski at the end of the day. But in those situations where clister wax works nicely, you can have just a fabulous ski. Those days when it's plus 17 and you want to go out and get that last ski of the season, you get the clister wax on and away you go. It can be a great ski.
All right, so we'll do these 2 last questions that I have here. For starters, What needs to be done to take care of your skis after a ski? Just a simple wipe down?
Yeah, after skiing, the only thing I recommend is to take the scraper that you have in your wax kit and just scrape off the grip wax that is left on the center in that wax pocket of your ski. And that helps to keep your ski clean, helps to keep it smooth so you don't have a buildup of wax that's actually going to start dragging at some point, and prepares the ski for the next your next outing. So removing the grip wax, takes 30 or 40 seconds. It's really, really quick to do, and it's easiest to do it when the ski is still cold, when it's outside.
All right, and for our last question, we'll ask, where do I find information relating to trail systems in Winnipeg and nearby? And how can I figure out if they are good for beginners or intermediates, and whether there are hills? So I guess just the kind of the conditions and layout of the trail.
Yeah, again, the Cross Country Ski Association website has a page on where to ski, and then it lists out the trails. Actually, throughout Manitoba, I think it probably covers off almost all the trails that are in Manitoba. And then many of those do have, from that website, many of them have links to the websites of the individual clubs that might operate those trails, or in the case of the city, for instance, to Windsor Park Nordic Centers, kind of the major ski facility in the city. And on those maps, you'll probably get a bit of a sense of the type of terrain that you're skiing in. I'm not sure that there's necessarily a really good indication on all of them of the type of terrain, but some of them you'll be able to gauge. There's also I think a function on the Cross Country Ski Association website where you can sort of pose questions and kind of ask around and get some information about different ski trails. For people that are looking for very much beginner type trails, most of the trails that are on the golf courses in Winnipeg are nice flat trails, easily suited to beginners. Beaudry Park is also quite suitable for beginners, and most of the trails at Birds Hill also are quite suitable for beginners.
Yeah. All right, well, that's all the questions that we have for now. So the last thing I'll bring up is, as we had mentioned a couple of times throughout this webinar, if anyone's looking to add a little bit of their to their repertoire and gain a little bit more expertise for their skiing ability, like we mentioned, we are holding a number of cross-country ski clinics, in-person cross-country ski clinics in our parks over the next month. 4 in total. The first 2 are happening this Saturday, January 15th in Birds Hill Park. The first one's at 10 a.m. The second one is at 1 p.m. After that, on Saturday, January 22nd, the next week, the clinic will be held in Spruce Woods Provincial Park at 1 p.m. And then our last one of the month will be held in Whiteshell Provincial Park at the Alfred Hull Goose Sanctuary, which is my stomping grounds. That's on Saturday, January 29th, and it's at 10:30 in the morning. Just to recap from a little bit earlier, ski rentals are not provided by the parks. You can rent them from many places within Winnipeg, but participants are required to provide their own equipment. Of course, social distancing measures will be in effect as of course, with public health orders, and registration for all of these will be required. Just like you're registered for this webinar tonight, all that information can be found at manitobaparks.com or by following Manitoba Parks on social media. And with that, as we have no more questions, I do want to thank everybody for registering and participating tonight. I absolutely want to thank Ken for coming on and being a wonderful guest speaker. And with that, as it is nice and late in the evening, and hopefully we're all good to go, and we should all be nice, good Olympic style skiers within the next 24 hours. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Happy skiing.
Absolutely. Happy skiing, everyone.